Chardon, hey, true crime fans. Welcome back to another episode of Chardon, hey, true crime. And before we get started, I just want to say sorry that we are running a little behind today. That was my bad. My Wi-Fi decided that it didn't want to work at hour zero, of course.
Shit happens.
Why would it want to be cooperative?
Right. It said, and deuces.
Yeah, basically what happened. It was just sort of like, oh, hey, you know how I usually only fuck up on D&D night? And I'm like, yeah. And it was like, hold my beer. I was like, no, please. I don't want to hold your beer. I don't want to hold your beer.
I don't want to hold your beer. No, thank you.
No, thank you. So to get us back on track, my name is Dakota. With me this week is the lovely CM Addams. Welcome back. How was your week?
My week has been a week.
I understand. Trust me, I understand. I encountered that myself when trying to do the research for this week's episode.
Right.
Yeah, it was rough. As I'm sure some of our regular listeners have noticed, we are in fact not covering the Anthill Kids this week, and that's due to some really weird reasons, wouldn't you say, CM?
Yeah, like I think one of the things that I felt like, I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, because I know there's a logical explanation for it. You know, there's always a logical explanation for things. I just couldn't help but notice a lot of the reliable sources, like news articles and, you know, people that were keeping up with the actual case itself. A lot of those sources have been archived, which I have to get on a Wayback Machine just to retrieve them, and I felt that was kind of odd, you know, because I'm like, okay, why let this case just go under the radar like that? It just didn't sit right with me, you know.
I totally get that. That is a really weird thing that it's doing, and yeah, I'm not too sure what to think about that, honestly.
Yeah, because I'm like, it happened, like, regardless of whether we like it or not, because I don't like that it happened, but regardless, it happened, you know? So I'm like...
Oh, totally. But at the same time, why are we pretending that it didn't happen? Just saying.
Right, because to me, I'm like, who's benefiting from this story being swept under the rug, you know? Like...
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's spoopy.
It is spoopy. It's suspicious.
It's super sus. So
super
instead, we are going back and we are going to cover someone that I haven't talked about in a very long time, which is a little ironic considering he lives over my shoulder. We are going to be talking about Charles Manson tonight.
Yep. Good old Manson.
This fucking guy.
It's like, if you have not heard of him by now, like, are you even...
Where have you been?
Right. What planet do you live on? Can I go? Like,
were you? Seriously. Like, y'all. If you don't know who Charles Manson is, y'all.
Right.
I remember when I was in like junior high, I was a really big Marilyn Manson fan, right? And I had a picture of him in my binder. I know, oof, did not age well. But my PE teacher, my very Christian PE teacher, was like, oh, you're a Manson girl. And I had to be like, no, can't say that. Cannot call people that. And he's like, oh, why? Because you like Marilyn Manson. You're a Manson girl. I was like, dude, you need to stop. Jeff, stop saying it. Stop saying it.
Stop saying the thing. Stop saying the thing.
Finally, I had to be like, do you know about the serial killer Charles Manson? And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, the girls that followed him were called Manson girls. Well, that's not what I meant. It's what you said.
Come on, dude. Yeah, I'm actually very fascinated by this case because, ironically enough, despite... like, my family kind of also has a little bit of morbid curiosities with these things, but this was actually one of the first cases my mom actually introduced me to. Yeah, like, she was actually, yeah, she was born 69, I believe, so...
Okay.
or yeah, somewhere around there. So like during the 70s and stuff, she was like very young. She was big into that kind of like culture, the hippie culture and stuff, so like she was alive when this stuff was happening. And I remember her saying she was like super scared when she listened to the news and,
I've got a really interesting story about Charles Manson that, some of our newer followers probably haven't heard me talk about yet, but most of my friends, especially my true crime friends, are fucking tired of hearing me talk about this story. But I'm not going to bring that up until part 2.
Okay.
So
we will wait in anticipation.
I wanted to see how long you could keep it going.
I wanted to go for a minute, but I know we're kind of on a time crunch, so.
Yeah. So anyways, let's get on into it. So unlike most podcasts that talk about Charles Manson, we aren't going to start directly with Charles Manson. We are going to start with his mommy.
His mother.
Mother Manson.
La Madre.
De Madre. So Ada Kathleen Maddox was born January 11th. Oh boy, Capricorn. January 11th, 1918 in Kentucky. She was known to her family and friends by her middle name, Kathleen. Oh God, she's a Capricorn and she goes by her middle name. We need to stop. Like,
oh God, and it's Kathleen.
That's Kate's name. She was the youngest of 5, and her father was a railroad conductor, and she lived an average, comfortable life in a very religious household. And that's just sort of how it goes, isn't it? I mean, it's always the kids from good homes who get into trouble. And trust me, Kathleen did get into trouble. She would sneak out and go to parties, run away, have sex, allegedly prostituted herself, kid stuff.
Yeah.
The usual.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, kid stuff. But she was 15 years old when she gave birth to Charles Manson. Now,
wow.
According to an interview she gave in 1971, which is the only interview that she ever gave in relation to Charles Manson, which I have searched hell and high water and have finally managed to get my hands on a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God, it took so long to find this. It has taken me 3 years to learn of the existence of this interview and then finally get my hands on it. Like, learned of it 3 years ago, got my hands on it literally today. So some rewrites happened today. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Some rewrites have happened. But in this interview, Kathleen said that she was never a prostitute, but just a dumb kid who gave birth out of wedlock. Her religious mother allegedly sent her to Cincinnati by herself to have the baby. And it was at that time that she met a man named William Manson and married him in 1934 when she was 6 months pregnant so that she would be able to give her baby a proper name. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting origin story.
Indeed.
Or at least for the name, at least.
Have you heard this rumor that when he was born on his birth certificate, it said no name Maddox?
Really?
So that is a rumor. I managed to get copies of both of his birth certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They do not, in fact, say no name. One just says Manson as a placeholder, and the other says, oh, what does it say? Hang on, let me look at it really quick. It says, my computer will load. Freaking Wi-Fi. All right. So yeah, full name of child, and it just says Manson. And then the next one, child name, Charles Miles Manson.
Was it?
It's hard
was it Miller?
Miller. Yeah, it's hard to read this old timey print.
Mm-hmm. Especially when the handwriting back then,
It's typewritten.
Oh, it's typewritten. Oh God, my bad.
It's just hard to read. Let me see if I can pull up this. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. Yeah, right there. Do you see? Charles
Miller Manson.
Maddox, it says.
Oh, Maddox. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a Scorpio. That explains it. No offense to all of our Scorpios out there.
No, none whatsoever. But oh man, that was funny. He's a Scorpio. That explains it.
That explains everything. The end. Roll credits.
There it is. The end. Roll credits.
The Vinci Code has been cracked. Everybody can go home now.
Yep, exactly. And I'm going to show you a picture of Kathleen when she was itty bitty little Kathleen. Kathleen Maddox is this one on the bottom row on the right. So with the white dress.
Right.
Yeah. So that's little baby Kathleen Maddox. To her left is her brother Luther, who we're going to get into in just a minute because it's actually an interesting story with Luther. But anyways, now, like we said, it doesn't actually say no name Maddox. And Kathleen herself said that she didn't give him a name at first, but that was only because she was waiting for her mother to get there and meet her in Cincinnati so that she could meet and name the child, stating, I figured I'd already hurt her pretty bad, so I wanted to let her name the baby. Weeks later, the child was renamed Charles Miller Manson. Gotcha. Even though on the birth certificate it says Maddox. Like, I don't know. Right. Maybe they just like changed his name a bunch of times. I don't know, man. It's the 30s. You could just be like, oh, hey, we changed their name again. And they were like, oh, okay, word. What is it this time?
Right.
Yeah.
Who?
Right?
Right.
So, according to the case files and reports and Kathleen, her relationship with William Manson didn't last long, and that he was out of young Charles Manson's life before Charles could develop any memories of the man whose name he had been given. Maddox and Manson divorced a year later, and Kathleen moved back home to Kentucky to live with her parents. Now, meanwhile, would you like to talk a little bit about Charles' biological father?
The biological father, the sperm donor.
That guy.
So he was not entirely out of the picture, which this is fascinating because I wasn't aware of this. Oh my gosh. He has such an interesting name. Why would you name... Who looks at a baby and says Colonel?
Colonel Baby.
Like,
this is our son, Colonel Baby.
Looked at a child and was like, you know what? His name's Colonel Walker Scott. Like, what were you... They were on cocaine, I swear.
I mean, there was cocaine in the cough syrup back then, and the Coca-Cola. So,
right.
Yeah, they were on cocaine.
Right. So, yeah. While they were in their cocaine-induced selves, decided to name the father Colonel Walker Scott.
Yeah.
Why I said that with an accent, I don't know why. Who Kathleen had met one of those nights she snuck out of her parents' home and was quite active. And apparently, he was quite active in young Charles Manson's life before his death of cancer in 1954. So that's interesting, at least, because it's like, okay, yeah, you knocked the chick up, y'all had fun, but at least he tried to kind of be a dad before he died. You know,
it's really interesting. Even if you look on like Wikipedia, you see stuff where it's like, Charles Manson probably never knew his father, and it's like, but he did.
Yeah.
Like Kathleen says so.
Right. So that's pretty interesting. I think they try to say that to try and like infantilize, killers, to be like, oh, their daddy wasn't there. Mommy was mean, shit like that. And it's like, no.
Listen, we're going to talk about one of the worst mothers in our next series. Literally one of the worst mothers I have ever heard of when it comes to a serial killer. And even still, it's not an excuse, man.
It's not.
No.
Because it's like by the end of the day, you're still responsible for what you do.
Yeah, exactly. No, interesting thing about Colonel Scott, he was a known con man around Catletsburg. Is that how you say that? Catletsburg.
Looks like it. Yeah, Catlets. Yeah. You're right.
Catletsburg, Kentucky, who worked intermittently in the mills around the area. He led the young Kathleen to believe that he was actually a colonel in the army, but as
the name,
as we have talked about, his name is literally just Colonel. That is the name that his parents gave. I want to add that to the no-no list.
Yeah.
He hasn't even done anything as far as we can tell. I mean, aside from knocking up a 15-year-old in the 30s and also being a con man, he hasn't really done anything that he's done some things, but he's going on the no-no list.
Yeah.
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 So when Kathleen told Colonel that she was pregnant, he told her he'd been called away on army business. And after several months, she realized he had no intention of returning, at least for her. And after a couple of years, Kathleen filed a paternity suit against him that ended with an agreed judgment in 1937. Now, Kathleen continued in that 1971 interview to say, all that stuff you read about Charles not knowing who his father was, that's not so. Scott used to come pick up Charles and take him home for weekends with his own child. He just loved him. So, there's that.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, there was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, like most young people do.
Well, I mean, Colonel was also like 20 years older than Kathleen, or like 30 years older than her, something like that. That's why I was like, he knocked her up with 15-year-old in the 30s.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't
and then
great.
dipped. It's like, dude,
it's not a good look for you, bro. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
It's a bad look.
Very bad look.
Mm-hmm. But would you say that that they had a happy home life?
Probably not. Just seeing how things are going, For young Charles, he was 5. Yeah, when he was 5, Kathleen and her brother were arrested and imprisoned for assault and robbery and were sentenced to 5 to 10 years. Which I want to know what
I have.
What do you got?
I have a couple of newspaper clippings about this.
Ah, awesome. Because I was just about to ask, what the fuck did they steal?
Oh, they stole a car.
Oh.
With a ketchup bottle.
What? Well, that was quite a freaking adventure. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a spin, wasn't it? So, Charleston, West Virginia, August 2nd. This is from 1939. This is the Enquirer, Cincinnati, from Thursday, August 3rd, 1939. Charleston, West Virginia, August 2nd. Luther Maddox, 23 years old, and his sister Kathleen, 20 years old, from Ashland, Kentucky, were charged tonight with the robbery of Frank Martin, Charleston State Troopers C.E. Musgrave, and Edwin Snodgrass reported. His name is Edwin Snodgrass.
That's beautiful.
I love it.
I'm going to name a character Snodgrass just for that.
The troopers said that the pair riding in Martin's car last night snuck a bottle in his back as Martin got out, knocked him unconscious. The two were accused by Musgrave and Snodgrass of the theft of $35 and an automobile, which was later abandoned. A hearing probably will be held tomorrow.
That is beautiful. Like, I mean that in a very ironic way. Like, you just knocked a guy out, stole $35, Tokyo drifted into the night, and then just like, okay, I'm done, and then just abandoned it and walked off. Like,
I love the
cocaine was strong in these people. Oh my God.
But it gets better. So this is from Thursday, September 28th, 1939. Charleston, September 28th. A brother and sister were sentenced to prison terms Wednesday for the catsup bottle holdup. August 2nd of Frank S. Martin of Charleston. Luther Maddox, 23, and his sister Kathleen Manson, who for some reason is listed as 30 in this article when the last one listed her as 20, were both of Ashland, Kentucky, and were sentenced to 10 years for armed robbery and 5 years for unarmed robbery, respectively. Both pleaded guilty. State police reported the brothers struck a sand-filled catsup bottle in Martin's back and told him to get out, then hit Martin on the head, took $27 from his pocket, and drove off in the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jiminy.
And this is a different one. That's for later.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I found all these newspaper clippings and I was just like, these are the greatest things I have ever seen in my life.
Right.
Like literally the greatest things that I've ever seen in my life.
God, it's like, geez. With such limited sources too, a freaking catsup bottle.
I like that they call it a catsup.
Yeah,
Is there a difference between catsup and ketchup?
I don't think so. Maybe it's just a tiny thing, you know?
Maybe because it's the 30s, it's just like full of cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say sand.
It was cool to say it's the cat's pajamas, you know?
They say that it was full of sand. Maybe it was just full of cocaine.
Right. It was probably cocaine.
Yeah.
That's probably why when it hit, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, you know, concussion and probably like, you know, got some in the system, you know, like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. But, you know.
It was like, woo, they stole my car!
Right.
And $27, that's worth like $150 today.
Right.
Or something like that. I don't know.
That was my mortgage money. Like, good times, good times.
All right, let's see. $1 in 1935 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $21.34 today.
Jeez.
Bruh. That's a lot.
But yeah, while they did their little cocaine-filled ketchup bottle
attack.
Right, that's what we're going to call it, the cocaine ketchup incident.
Yep.
So they were sentenced to 5 to 10 years for that. So during this time, it was reported that Charles was living with his aunt and uncle in, I hope I'm saying this correct, McMecken,
I would think. I don't really know.
You know, we'll just go with McMecken because that's just easier to say. West Virginia.
Heckin' McMecken.
Yep. And other reports say that he lived with his grandparents, who were cruel and used to force him to go to school in a dress.
I will say, it's not really known what is the truth because both reports came from Charles himself, who, as I am sure we have discovered by now, is not exactly the most reliable of sources.
Right.
In case his conduct in court could tell you anything about him.
Right. And with like all the interviews, like I remember I'll briefly talk about it, like especially in a lot of his interviews that are like one-on-one. And he knows that there's a camera in the room. A lot of times he'll like do a performance, but then he'll briefly like look at the camera, like making sure like, you know, all eyes are on me and stuff,
You're
know.
Still
like,
watching me, right?
I'm putting a show on for you. So it is kind of difficult, you know, so all we can really say is allegedly that happened.
Exactly. Either way. Yeah, either way. So
either way.
What happened next?
Either way, they did get released. Well, mother, Kathleen, did get
Well,
released.
Kathleen was only sentenced to 5 years. Her brother was sentenced to 10.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think that's just, good old-fashioned sexism working for you.
Right. Yeah, girls can't do bad things. Not entirely.
She didn't have the catsup bottle full of cocaine. It's fine. Her mother forced her to do it. Kids will be kids.
Ugh. People. So yeah, she returned, and that was what he called the happiest time of his life. And upon her release, they moved to Charleston, West Virginia, where Manson continually played truant, and his mother spent her evenings drinking. Sounds lovely.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Right, and then she was arrested for grand larceny, but was not convicted.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, I'm getting tongue twisted.
All right, okay, I will read it.
Sorry about that.
You're good. She was arrested for grand larceny and was not convicted. And the family would later move to Indianapolis, where Kathleen met an alcoholic with the last name Lewis through an AA meeting and married him in August of 1943, which just goes to show AA has been around that long and none of it has changed since then. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're substituting one addiction with another, and the other addiction is the validation of weirdos that are also addicts.
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm not saying don't get sober. I'm just saying be careful about the ways you go about it.
Yeah.
So, Charles would get into trouble for truancy, like CM said, and for petty theft. And eventually, though there was a lack of foster home placements in 1947, at the age of 13, he was eventually placed at the Gibault School for Boys in Terre Haute, Indiana, a school for male delinquents run by Catholic priests.
Oh, that sounds like a fun time.
It sounds like a terrible time. It was a strict school where punishments for even the smallest of infractions, including beatings with either a wooden paddle or a leather strap. And eventually, young Charlie would run away from Gibault and slept in the woods, under bridges, and wherever else he could find shelter. So he was just like getting ready for later life, in 20 years, he's going to be doing the same goddamn thing, which just goes to show this guy's a fucking disaster his entire life.
Right.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting worse and worse.
It really does. There's not a point where it gets better for this guy. Right. So it's like, it's kind of sad. But at the same time, it's just like, but look at the choices that you made, my guy.
Right. Plus, I'm like, God, it almost makes me wonder if he was just doomed to the start when he thought the happiest times of his life was when his mother was drinking,
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm so sorry, but that's still, I mean, you still suck though, but...
I'm sorry that you had to go through with that, but also you're a terrible human being and... fuck you, guy.
Right, basically.
Yeah. So anyways, he would run away from the home to his mother and spent Christmas 1947 in what did we decide it was?
McMecken? Yeah.
McMecken.
Yep.
At his aunt and uncle's house. His mother would eventually return him to Gibault, and 10 months later, he ran away again to Indianapolis. And in 1948, we have the first of Charles Manson's known actual crimes, where he robbed a grocery store. And at first, the robbery was simply him trying to find something to eat. So, I get it. He couldn't spare 5 cents for a 3-course meal.
Right.
Because it's 1948.
Right.
But eventually, he found a cigar box containing just over $100, and he took the money and used the money to rent a room on Indianapolis's Skid Row and to buy food. And honestly, $100 in 1948, like, what has that got the spending power of today?
Right.
Let's see what that has the spending power of today. $100 in 1948 today. That is about $1,200 today.
Yeah, he would have been set for a good minute.
Yeah, he really would have. Like, yeah, it's about $1,200.
Right.
Damn. Good. Like, fuck, I hate to say good for you, but like, good for you.
Right.
Like, it feels weird because I'm like, hey, like, you got some money and you're gonna like take care of yourself and shit. But no, like, fuck you, you're Charles Manson. Fuck.
Right. Hope I can find a cigar box full of 1,200.
Fuck, right?
Shit.
Fuck. All right, you still feeling a little tongue-tied, or you want to give it another go?
I think I can do it. All right, so
all right. I believe
for a time, there was actually a point where Manson was trying to live a life free of crime, where he was delivering messages for Western Union, but then he quickly turned back into, a life of crime, doing a lot of petty theft, mainly with his wages. And then he was eventually caught, because that's just how things go. But in a 1949 court case, a judge, I guess, sympathized with him and sent him to Boys Town, which is a juvenile facility in Omaha, Nebraska.
And here is the article for that right here. So it says by Robert Newell, and it is from March 7th, 1949. Dreams come true for lad. He's going to Boys Town. I don't know if that is a dream come true, especially after what I know happened in Boys Town. Charles Manson, a dead-end oh, wait, I have to say this in like a 40s voice. Hang on. Charles Manson, 14, a dead-end kid who has lived in an emotional blind alley most of his life, is happy today. He's going to Boys Town. At a hearing in juvenile court this morning, he learned the good news that he had been accepted by the famous non-sectarian refuge for the homeless and abandoned boys near Omaha, Nebraska. The gentle hand of the late Father Edward Finnegan thus reached out to touch another young life with the gift of hope. I don't like the way that's worded.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ, where did I leave? Okay. Charles had been daydreaming about the Boys Town. I'm sure he had.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
That's where they have rolling farmlands, big red-roofed barns, and cows and horses. He likes animals. Wistfully, Charles told Judge Joseph O. Hoffman, I think I could be happy working around cows and horses. I like animals. For the young boy, Father Flanagan's institution means an escape from home, but not home as the other children know it. Home, to Charles Manson, meant living with a drunken mother. It meant being told to get out of the house while she entertains a boyfriend. I like that boyfriend is 2 words here. It meant unhappiness and mixed emotions. Charles hated it so much he got a job as a messenger boy and rented a room downtown where he could sleep. Charles's mother didn't seem to worry about him not coming home many nights. Left to his own devices, Charles got in trouble with the law. He stole. He was caught when his mother, wanting to get him out of the way, told police where they could find him. Wow.
Oh my God.
Kathleen. Dick move. She was surprised when police arrested her too. The charge was adultery.
I can just see her like with the surprise Pikachu meme where it's like, no, you're under arrest too. And it's like,
oh my God. For why am I under arrest? Because is that man your husband? No.
You did the adultery.
No, I did the adultery.
This is the 40s, lady. We don't do the sex. We don't do the premarital or post-sex. We only listen to the Italian mafia singing about white people's sex and music, and that's it. Come on.
So specific. That was so fucking specific. Okay. All right. She was surprised when police arrested her too. The charge was adultery. Released on her own recognizance, she skipped town to escape prosecution. Charles doesn't know where his mother is today. It's hardly surprising that he doesn't care. In fact, Charles told the court that there were only 3 persons in his life for whom he did care. An uncle for whom he lived with for a time in Wheeling, West Virginia, a priest at the Gibault Home for Boys, Terre Haute, and another priest who visited him at the juvenile center. Each of these men was like a father to the boy who could not remember his own father. I don't think that's true. That's a fucking lie, Charlie.
Especially since he ran away from that place. So I'm like, nah, come on.
His uncle said he said, took him on hunting and fishing trips and let him help in his workshop. But the uncle became ill with tuberculosis and Charles had to move. When Charles went to a Gibault home, it was not as a delinquent. His mother was getting rid of him again. A Catholic father at the home showed him how to tend the purebred cows and talk to him of things that are important in a boy's world. Ugh. I'm uncomfy.
Yeah.
The happy days at Gibault ended when Charles' mother quit paying for his care there. But it said that he ran away from there like a lot. What the fuck?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like team Kathleen either, but no. I also got to remember that this was a time where it was like, I feel like they were using the mom as a scapegoat for real.
Oh, totally. Totally. When Charles was placed in juvenile center, he remembered the kindliness of the man who wore the collar of a cleric, and he wondered whether he could talk to the Catholic father who visits the children in the center. It was the beginning of the 3rd friendship in the boy's life. To protect the priest, he expressed his desire to become a Catholic and live in a home. It's something like Gibault. The answer came in a letter to Judge Hoffman from the magistrator? I don't know what MSGR, I guess magistrator.
I think so.
Yeah. See that? Oh, wrong. There we go. Yeah, I guess that would be magistrator. Nicholas
I guess so, yeah.
Wegner of Boys Town. It was the letter of acceptance. Charles will go to Boys Town, cheered by the best wishes of his neighbors. They are good neighbors. For Sunday, they held a meeting and raised enough money to buy Charles an outfit of new clothes. At the hearing today, silver-haired Judge Hoffman told Charles about the future that Boys Town offered a boy who tries. He even thought a dream might come true for Charles. Patting the boy on the shoulder, he said, "Maybe you'll have that farm yet, and you'll be a real farmer, son. You just try hard to learn all the things they teach."
I don't know what to say to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
The boy who tried, like, did he though? No.
I feel like both Charles and like literally everyone else are just using Kathleen as a scapegoat. And like, again, we are not team Kathleen here.
Yeah. Not at all. But it was like, after everything that we do know, it's like, no, they were trying to play the whole mommy's not there. Please feel bad for me so I can go to Boys Town. Even though, as we, go on with the story, just only after 4 days at Boys Town, after all that hype in the newspaper, he and a fellow student by the name of Blackie Nielsen obtained a gun and stole a car. So it's like all that for nothing anyway.
Yep.
and they used it to commit 2 armed robberies on their way to Nielsen's uncle in, I hope I'm saying this right, Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria, yeah, that's what I would guess. Peoria.
Yeah. So it's like it wouldn't have mattered anyway. And
no.
Yeah, so Nielsen's uncle happened to be a professional thief, so when the boys arrived, he took them on as apprentices. Show them, his evil ways of thievery and fuckery. Especially the fuckery.
So much fuckery.
So much fuckery. So yeah, with all that fuckery.
Fuckery.
Oh, yes?
Yes? Oh, I was just agreeing with you about the amount of fuckery.
My bad.
I was just agreeing about the
all
amount
that
of fuckery. Yeah. A lot of fuckery.
All that fuckery and learning to be a professional thief. He was arrested. Manson was arrested 2 weeks later during a nighttime raid at a store in Illinois. And in the investigation that followed, he was linked to his 2 earlier robberies that we spoke of, getting the gun in the car. And then he was sent to the Indiana Boys School, a strict reform school. Like, how are they gonna, aren't they gonna get it at this point? None of these boys' schools are gonna work.
No, because they're like, oh, this is the 1940s. Of course, there's going to be a boys' school that works. We are going to treat them like young men who should be honored to serve their country and make us license plates.
So we can fight,
Nazis.
Communism and shit, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know. We weren't there, and even if we were there, we would be considered hysterical.
We would be, yeah. We'd probably be in asylums right now getting hysteria treatments.
Yep. At least we'd have each other.
We would, yes. Having very nice cold showers each morning. Hi, Dakota. How are you doing?
We can cuddle.
Yes. Cuddle under the cold water while we scream.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great time.
So great. Oh, God. Alrighty. So at this new school, the other students allegedly would sexually assault each other at the encouragement of the staff members. Yeah.
Why?
It's like it gets worse.
You had Playboy.
Worse.
You had options.
You could have stayed at the farm, my guy. You could have stayed at the farm.
Right. Could have been with the cows. You could have named him Nessie or something cool like that.
Nessie?
Yes, Nessie the cow.
Do you mean Bessie?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, just checking.
Or like how I play Story of Seasons. My cow's name is named Moo Bitch. They could have been on the farm with a cow named Moo Bitch, and things would have been great.
Absolutely. But no, he was repeatedly raped at this new school at the encouragement of staff members. He was repeatedly beaten. He ran away from the school 18 times. And while at the school, he developed a self-defense technique he would later call the insane game, which honestly, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense when you think about those interviews that he would do later in life. Right. Because the insane game was where he was if he was physically unable to defend himself, he would screech, grimace, and wave his arms to convince aggressors that he was insane.
To be fair,
does that remind you of anything?
A lot of things, actually.
Yeah. Sorry, to be fair.
Well, going on with that, that's actually kind of a common thing, like a common defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that comes to mind is that episode of Hey Arnold where Arnold knew he could not physically do anything to stand up to a bully at his school. Mm-hmm. So he ends up having this crazy dream and then goes and confronts the bully the next day and does this little crazy dance with a song, literally declaring himself as crazy. So the bully wouldn't mess with him anymore. Like,
you bring up Hey Arnold a lot on these episodes.
I guess I have, haven't I? But anyway,
you know it's Chardonnay True Crime when CM brings up Hey Arnold.
Yes. That's the subtitle.
I just noticed that. It's funny.
It is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And like even I've actually done a defense mechanism like that because I actually used to work in a really bad area, and I had this thing where I didn't call it the insane game. I called it when a creeper gets creeping, you get creepier. You try to out creep the creep.
I used to do that on Hollywood Boulevard all the time.
Like, yeah, where it's like you try to out creep the person who's trying to creep you out.
But I'd be getting off work at like 3 a.m. and I'd be standing out on the boulevard waiting for my Uber to get there. And I had one time where a carload of guys like pulled up next to me and were like yelling stuff at me to get in the car and everything. So I threw a lit cigarette at them.
Nice.
I threw a lit cigarette in their car and then started screaming that I was going to rip their faces off with my teeth. And they were like, what the fuck? And I was like, your light's green. You better fucking go before I come over there. They reached out of there so fucking fast.
That is awesome.
So I get it. I really do. Like, we both get it. We've done this. We have been those crazy bitches.
Yep.
But sometimes you gotta be that crazy bitch. Again, we are not defending Charles Manson's later actions. We are defending the actions that he used to get through his life.
Right.
But that does not mean that we agree at any way with what Charles Manson would become famous for.
Right.
For the record.
Right.
So, after a number of failed attempts, he would escape with 2 other boys in February of 1951. The 3 escapees were robbing filling stations while attempting to drive to California in stolen cars when they were eventually arrested in Utah. For the federal crime of driving a stolen car across state lines, Manson was sent to Washington, D.C.'s National Training School for Boys. Because, of course, they send him to another school for boys.
Right. I'm like, at this point, just stop.
No more boys' schools for you, young Manson. But no. On arrival, he was given an aptitude test, which determined that he was basically illiterate, but he had an above-average IQ of 109, and his caseworker deemed him to be aggressively antisocial. Yeah.
See, at that point, he just needs a fucking doctor.
He just needs a hug, for fuck's sake.
A hug, a doctor, a milkshake, a cow named Moo Bitch on a farm.
Yep. All of the above. He just needs someone to just sit him down and be like, hey, listen, stop doing this, you little shit.
Just
send him to work. Shit. Send him to work on a fucking ranch like my parents did to me, for God's sakes.
Right.
Of course, I never stole a car.
That too.
But I got caught smoking when I was like 14, and they sent me up to Montana for the winter. Or at least 2 weeks in the winter.
Did you get to pet a cow?
I got to ride horses.
That's good too. That's good too.
Yeah.
Horses are nice.
Oh, yeah. I love horses.
They go neigh and sometimes kick you, but that's forgivable.
Yeah, I told the story last night about the time I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Ouch.
It wasn't. I don't have a lot of memory from that point. From falling under a horse to about 20 minutes ish later, nothing.
Ouch.
Yeah, people have told me
kicked off of a horse, but that's only. I kind of blame my sister for that. We were riding actually on a horse. Like, we had an adult with us and stuff.
Yeah.
And, to be like cute, they were letting me hold on the reins, but then my sister, I guess, got jealous that I was holding on the reins and kept trying to snatch it out of my hands. And of course, as a kid, you're not thinking of that. So it spooked the horse and, they balked.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I'm like, that wasn't the horse's fault. That was my bitch ass hoe of a sister's fault.
As someone who worked with horses, absolutely, it was your sister's fault. And also, whoever was letting y'all ride like that, it was their fault for not smacking her in the head and being like, don't fucking do that.
Oh, yeah. They were family friends that weren't very smart.
Smacky.
Yeah.
I'd have smacked her.
Yeah.
But you know how I feel about children anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so no horses for Manson, unfortunately.
No, but what he did get was not good. On a psychiatrist's recommendation, he was transferred in October 1951 to Natural Bridge Honor Camp, another goddamn fucking camp, y'all.
Right.
Which was, again, a minimum security institution. And his aunt would visit him and told the administrators that she would let him stay at her house and would help him find work. So he had a parole hearing scheduled for February 1952. And you want to know what he did in January of 1952?
Bad things.
He was caught sexually assaulting another boy at knife point. From there he was transferred to the Federal Reformatory in Petersburg or Borough. I don't know how to pronounce that, honestly. Is it
Petersburg, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Virginia, and there he committed a further 8 serious disciplinary offenses, 3 involving homosexual acts.
Oh yeah, all these thievings and robberies and gunpoints, but we draw the fucking line at homosexuality, mister.
You knock it off with that queer stuff, Manson.
It's like, how dare you?
I hate how that sounded really authentic in that voice. I'm uncomfortable. I've made myself uncomfortable. He was then moved to a maximum security reformatory at, I'm not even going to fucking try and pronounce
just call it Chile.
Chile, Ohio.
That sounds delicious. But delicious things did not happen there.
They did not. He was expected to remain there until his release on his 21st birthday in November of 1955. However, somehow he managed to have good behavior, which led to an early release in May of 1954 to live with his aunt and uncle in Heckin McMecken.
Lovely.
Yeah. And it's at this point that Charlie finds love for the first time in his life.
Cue the lovely 1940s love music, I
50s,
suppose.
50s. It's the
50s. 50s, yeah, 50s now. Yeah. He was probably, had a little skip and a step, scatting, down the street about how in love he is,
Yeah. That's like the best scatting I could do. That's I don't fucking know, man.
Still sounds nice.
Okay. All right. Cool. You want to take this one?
Yes. So in January 1955, lovely poodle skirts and scatting and milkshakes and other lovely things of the 50s.
Racism.
Yeah, racism. Not lovely, but
no.
Manson married a hospital waitress named Rosalie Jean Willis.
I think that's Jean.
Oh, Jean? Okay. Yeah, Jean Willis. Around October, about 3 months after he and his now pregnant wife arrived in Los Angeles in a car, he, of course, he fucking stole it in Ohio.
And you know what happens when you take a car that you stole across state lines?
He was once again charged with a federal crime for taking the vehicle across the street. He just didn't learn. The poor wife, she's just big and pregnant. All right, hop in the car, honey. Where'd you get this car? Don't worry about it.
Don't fucking worry, babe. Let's go. Wait, I'm Charles Manson. I don't know why, but I just keep thinking of like Jack Nicholson. Don't worry about it, baby.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, so after a psychic evaluation, he was given 5 years probation. Mason's failure to appear in a Los Angeles hearing about the charges, on a identical charge filed in Florida, resulted in his 1956 March arrest. Jeez.
His probation was revoked, and he was sentenced to another 3 years imprisonment at Terminal Island in Los Angeles.
Homeboy just does not learn. It's like, if you get arrested for something, like, maybe don't do the same thing. Maybe try to, like, kick it up a notch, do something different. Like, I don't know. Like,
oh shit, that place is still around.
Oh.
Huh. The Federal Correctional Institution, Terminal Island, is a low-security United States federal prison for male inmates in California. It's like down near Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
Huh. Huh.
Interesting.
Learn something new every day.
Yep.
Anyways, while he was in prison, Rosalie gave birth to their son, Charles Manson Jr., who BT Dubs passed away in 93.
Oh.
Yeah. He even tried to like change. His life is so fucking sad. We'll talk about Junior in part 3. But during his first year at Terminal Island, Manson received visits from Rosalie and his mother, who are now living together in LA. And in 57, when the visits from his wife stopped, his mommy had to tell him that Rosalie was now living with another man. And less than 2 weeks before a scheduled parole hearing, he tried to escape by stealing a car. Charlie.
Dude.
Charlie.
What do I even gotta say at this point? It's like...
Just, bruh, hang on. Just really, really fast. Just... Bro, what's happening here? Okay, like what's going on here? Huh? What's happening? You just panicking? Were you having the straight panic? Is that a thing? Is there a straight panic?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, because we know that the gay panic is a thing, but is there a straight... Are you having a panic?
He's having a cocaine panic.
Charles!
It's like, dude, come on. Right before the parole hearing. It's like, you could have just chilled.
Well, it's like when he raped that kid right before his goddamn... Right before he was supposed to be released. Like, he just... what's the word I'm looking for?
Self-destruct?
No.
Sabotage.
Yes.
Yes, there we go. It's like he self-sabotages.
Absolutely.
It's like he just wakes up. It's like, how can I try to be the worst possible person alive?
How can I fuck myself over today?
Right. It's like that meme where it's like smacking that red button that just says fuck it up. Like,
bruh, seriously, just my guy. So he was given 5 years probation, and his parole was, of course, denied. He received 5 years parole in September of 1958, the same year that Rosalie received a divorce. Rosalie was just like, "Ayo, courts, my hubby is in like prison and stuff, and he fucking sucks. Can you say that we're divorced?"
Sure.
The courts are like, "Yeah, we got you, boo."
Right.
Hey, so you single now? What's up, girl?
That's exactly what happened.
Meanwhile, Charles was out of prison, and by November, so he gets out in September.
Yep.
By November, he is pimping a 16-year-old girl and was receiving additional support from a girl with wealthy parents. And in September of 1959, he pleaded guilty to a charge of attempting to cash a forged U.S. Treasury check, which he claimed to have stolen from a mailbox. That charge was later dropped, and he received a 10-year suspended sentence and probation after a young woman named Leona, who had an arrest record for prostitution, made a tearful plea before the court that she and Manson were deeply in love and she would marry if Charlie were freed. And before the year's end, they did get married. Possibly so that she wouldn't be required to testify against him, and possibly because she was pregnant with his fucking kid.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. We got a nice little comment here. Hey.
What up, Penguin? That's just... Yeah. My God, dude. Get your shit together.
Bruh, seriously, though. It's like, hey, Charles, can you fucking chill? Like, my God, dude. Oh my God. So what happened next? You tell me what happened next, because I fucking can't.
Yeah, so Manson took Leona and another woman to New Mexico for purposes of prostitution, resulting in him being held and questioned for violating the Mann Act. And though he was released, Manson was correctly suspected that the investigation had not ended, which, it never does because it's fucking Manson and he never knows when to chill. When he disappeared in violation of his probation, a bench warrant was issued. And, oh my gosh, jeez.
For the record, just really quick, for anyone who is not familiar with the Mann Act, the Mann Act is also known as the White Slave Traffic Act, and it is a law that was passed in 1910. And basically, it's like you can't take people across state lines to force them to fuck.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. We got a comment here.
Oh.
It's fine with me.
Oh yeah, that's right. He Mark goes to work at 10, and I think it's
fine with me. That's fine with me. I don't care. I don't care if they're in the background.
Okay.
Could get some comments from the peanut gallery then. Anyways, so what happened?
Oh yeah, so one of the women were arrested for prostitution. So following that arrest, Manson was also arrested in June in Laredo, Texas, and was returned to Los Angeles. What was it?
Laredo.
Oh, Laredo, my bad.
There's a song in the 60s called Streets of Laredo.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. I'll play it for you sometime.
Okay. So for violating his probation on the cash checking charge, he was ordered to serve his 10-year sentence, which to me is not long enough, but ooh, lovely.
$2.
$2?
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
So yeah, this bitch just cannot seem to not be in trouble.
It just never fucking ends with this fucking guy, man.
Right. I'm like, he's already had like he's already had like this long ass offending list before he's even 21.
Charles, why? Bruh. All right, seriously. He was born in 1930.
1934. There we go.
4. You like that? I'm just throwing out numbers. 4, 8, 7,
12.
1930, 12.
Yes, 1930, 12.
That is when Charles Manson was born. 1930, 12.
Yep. In a like alternate universe where that's possible.
Mm-hmm. It is possible, CM. just not for a while.
Yeah, just not for a good minute.
Yeah, a hot minute, in fact. Yeah.
Let's see where I'm put.
All right, so we got to his probation with the check cashing charge. Yep.
Yes.
So he spent another year trying unsuccessfully to appeal the revocation of his probation. And in July 1961, he was transferred from the LA County Jail to the United States Penitentiary at McNeil Island, Washington. There, he would take guitar lessons from Barker Karpus gang leader Alvin Creepy Karpus. Can I just say the fact that his nickname is Creepy? I'm like kind of living for that. Like, that's back before your nickname was like Skunk. I'm
right.
Skunk. No, it was just I'm creepy. My name's Alvin Creepy Karpus.
You can call me Creepy. It's okay.
Sounds like
sounds like the kind of guy who would like collect like bug carcasses out of his mother's garden.
He's like one of those guys that like wears a trench coat to school, and like he wears a trench coat and like a Naruto headband thingy, you know, and I'm just saying, like, he's a weeb. All right.
Oh my god, I love it. I love it. He would be a weeb.
He's like also a actually kind of guy.
Oh god, the actually.
Him and Charles Manson are besties. And I hate them both.
Right.
So anyways, he's hanging out with Creepy and taking guitar lessons, which is very unfortunate for the music industry as a whole.
Right.
Yeah. So he obtained from another inmate the contact of a name from someone at Universal Studios in Hollywood, Phil Kaufman. And funny story, he was in prison at the same time as Danny Trejo.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is freaking amazing.
I know, right? Anyways,
shout out to Danny Trejo. You are amazing.
Danny Trejo is incredible, and he is one of the sweetest people I have ever met in my life. I used to hang out at the New Beverly Cinema in Hollywood, and they did a midnight screening of From Dusk Till Dawn, and Danny came to the screening to introduce it and everything. And so I was like friends with the owners at the time, and they were like, "Oh, Dakota, like, can you help clean up a little bit before the midnight?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally," because I was there all the time. And also, if I cleaned up, that meant I got to save my seat before everyone else filed in.
Right.
So yeah, I'll clean up. So I'm cleaning up, and Danny Trejo walks in, and he's like, "Oh, you're in heels. Let me help you." And he like starts like cleaning up the theater with me. I'm like, "Oh no, Mr. Trejo, please, I got this." And he's like, "The faster we can get this done, the faster we get all these people inside. Let's do it." You're in heels. I should be the one cleaning, not you. And his son was with
him. That sounds like something he'd say. He's a real sweetheart.
He was such a sweetie. And also, I was surprised at how short he is. And it's really funny because if you watch in the movie Machete, there's like a scene where there's like a police file on him, and it's like height 6'2". And I'm like, okay, then I'm like 7 feet tall. Fuck.
Right.
For the record, I'm 5'7". He is not as tall as me, but he's a sweetheart. He is one of the nicest men I have ever met in Hollywood. Nothing but good things to say about Danny Trejo.
Right.
So anyway,
he is a precious soul, and we will die to protect him.
We will always protect Danny Trejo. So anyway, now the Mann Act charge got dropped, and the attempt to cash the Treasury check was still a federal offense. So in 1961, in September of 1961, his annual review noted that he had a tremendous drive to call attention to himself. And it was an observation that was echoed in September of 1964. And in 1963, Leona, his hooker wife, was also granted a divorce.
God.
And she and Manson had a son who was named Charles Luther.
Oh, God. Why do I have a feeling like, okay, it's one thing if you have one kid that's named after you, but a whole other ass kid.
I can't remember how many kids he has. He has 3 kids officially.
Gotcha.
I'm sure there was more, but we will talk a little bit more about that in the next episode.
Right.
Because the things that happen to children on Spawn Ranch is truly fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm honestly really glad that Quentin Tarantino did not include children in the Spawn Ranch scenes of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of children at Spawn Ranch.
Right.
So anyways, now this is actually one of my favorite like Hollywood legends is that Charles Manson auditioned to be on the TV show The Monkees. Did you know the band The Monkees, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that they had a TV show and that's how they became a thing?
I did not actually.
So the way that The Monkees came about was after, have you seen the Beatles movie A Hard Day's Night?
No, the only one I've really watched is Yellow Submarine.
Understandable. It is the only good one.
And I just really love Evil Blue Meanie. So
oh my god, right? I hated the Beatles when I was a kid until I saw Yellow Submarine. Then I was like super into it.
Right. I just love that type of artsy style, so that's kind of what drew me into it.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, there was a movie called Hard Day's Night, and it was about the Beatles, and it was like following them around. It was scripted, obviously.
Beatles mania, yeah.
Total Beatles mania. So after Hard Day's Night came out, there was an ad for people to become on this to do this new TV show that was called The Monkees, and it was like the Beatles. But here's an interesting fact about the Monkees, and I am saying this as a Monkees stan because I fucking love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had nothing but good experiences with those men. Who RIP to Peter Tork, Michael Nesmith, and Davy Jones. But so the legend is that Charles Manson auditioned to be on the Monkees. Now this would be impossible because Charles Manson was still in jail. However, just a weird little Hollywood trivia thing for anyone who gives a shit like I did for a very long time. There was a disc jockey in like the day, and his name was Rodney Bingenheimer, and he was actually like my inspiration when I was a DJ. And he ended up being the double for Davy Jones's character on the Monkees in like one episode where it was called The Prince and the Pauper, kind of an episode where it's like there was a prince who looked just like Davy, and then there's like Davy who, and so they used the double, whereas like the back of his head anytime they were on screen together, and so it was so stupid, but like so funny. But yeah, no, Charles Manson was never auditioning for the Monkees in 1967 or 1965 because he was still incarcerated at McNeil Island.
So just squash that.
Squash it. That was a weird tangent, but I'm sorry. I felt the need to explain it.
Oh no, it's cool. Like, it's good to like get those facts straight, because people just say any fucking thing because it sounds good.
Oh my god, it's so stupid.
It really is.
Now, Charles Manson did have some connections with the Beach Boys, but that will come into play in the next episode. And in the next episode, we're going to play a little bit of Charles Manson's terrible fucking music.
Oh God,
I own his album, by the way.
You do?
I do. Yeah, it's in
I'm
California.
Sorry.
It's in California. It's terrible, but Yeah.
Yes. So
my mom.
Your mom texted you?
Yeah, my mom Oh, she's angry about Roe v. Wade right now. I got it.
Oh, yeah. I had a nice earful myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that Apple does that thing where they transcribe your voicemails for you. Because, hey kiddo, just wanted to connect and say, fuck this day so hard, and I hope you're out doing something wonderful and not thinking about this decision today, but I'm bitter and just thought I would connect. Okay, love you. Talk to you later. Bye.
That's fair. That is
I
very
love my
fair.
mom. She's so great. I love that every time she interrupts the stream, it's for things like, hey, Dan Aykroyd is single. Shoot your shot, kiddo.
Right.
And hey, fuck the United States. Bye.
Right.
My mom is great. I love her so much.
We should like have her like pop in for like a commercial, like, hi guys, I hope you're enjoying your true crime. By the way, fuck the United States. Bye. And then like
we
float
should
away
just,
on a
have
rainbow.
a little segment where it's like mom news and it's
right. That would be great.
That would be so funny. All right, so we can get through this. We only have a little bit more to go. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So a year later.
Yeah.
A year later, after all those shenanigans. June 1966, Manson was sent for the second time, because once is just never enough for him.
No.
To the Terminal Island in preparation for early release. And then by the time of his release day, March the 21st, 1967, he had spent more than half of his 32 years in prisons and other institutions because he's a fucking idiot. And it's never enough. It just never is. Yeah. So I'm just so done with his shit. I feel like an angry mother that has just scolded a child so many times.
Like, oh, we kind of feel bad for you. And then it was like, you just keep fucking up.
Right. It's like, there's only so many times you can keep fucking up.
As someone who's fucked up a lot, not nearly this bad.
Right. It's like, I get it. Sometimes people just fuck up over and over again. But in this case, it's like, no, I think you just want to fuck up. Well, you're making this a fuck it up contest at this point.
Keep reading the paragraph.
I will keep reading. Yes. Yeah.
So just for the record, keep reading this paragraph. Then you'll see what I'm hesitating about. Go ahead.
All right. Mm-hmm. So he had spent more than half of his 32 years in prisons and other institutions. This was mainly because he had broken federal laws. Federal sentences were and remain much more severe than state sentences for many of the same offenses, which, that makes sense.
Yep.
Telling the authorities that prison had become his home, and he requested permission to, well, at least you know your fucking place. At least he knew his fucking place.
Read the sentence out loud for everyone.
Oh, yeah. He requested permission to stay. At least he knew where he fucking belonged. So I will give credit where it's due. I will give credit where it's due.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, as soon as you started saying, I was like, just keep reading. Just keep going.
Yeah, I know. I got on my soapbox. But you know what?
For anyone that doesn't know, I write the notes, and it's all kind of a surprise to CM because I'll write notes and then I'll send them, and then the day of I will rewrite them because I'm a psychopath.
We live our lives in chaos mode, so it just makes things exciting.
Yeah. So I like to change things. It's like before, what's his name? Bill Hader would go on SNL. John Mulaney would change the lines. So that's why he would break down laughing so much.
Right.
You know? So I like to do that to CM because I'm a chaos monster.
But I love it. I invite the chaos. I embrace it.
Thank you. So less than a month after his 1967 release from prison, Charles Manson moved to Berkeley from LA, which could have been a or a probation violation, but instead, after calling the San Francisco probation office upon his arrival, he was transferred to a supervision of criminal doctoral researcher and federal probation officer Roger Smith. And until the spring of 1968, Smith worked at the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, also known as the HAFMC, which Charles Manson and his family frequented throughout their stay in the Haight. The Haight-Ashbury, for those that are not familiar with the 60s as we are, was a section of San Francisco. It was where Haight Street and Ashbury Street coincided, and that whole neighborhood was basically like the Village in New York. Like, it was the place to be, and it was the place of the 60s.
Oh, the 60s.
Oh God, right? Seriously. So I've never actually been to San Francisco. I'm not gonna lie. I've never been.
My brother lives in San Francisco.
Who does?
My brother.
Oh, brother. I thought you said mother, and I was like, I thought your mother lived somewhere in the South.
Oh, no. I don't think they would survive out here. But no, my brother actually lives in San Francisco. He loves it.
Cool.
One day I feel like I should just drive up there and just, kick his door down and go, hey.
Let's take a gal's trip.
Right. Yes. I'm sure he'd be delighted. I think my brother would absolutely love you. He'll probably go, oh, what a lovely surprise. Hello there. He's very prim and proper, so that's his exact reaction.
Is your brother into female presenting peoples?
He'd just be like, oh, hello. How are you? Do you like
I'm already promised to JoJo's brother. Oh no, wait, he's promised to me. He doesn't know anything about it.
Ah, gotcha.
Poor Jonathan. Anyways, so the family would hang out at the HAFMC, the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic. And Roger Smith, as well as the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic founder, David E. Smith, received funding from the National Institutes of Health and reportedly the CIA to study the effects of drugs like LSD and methamphetamine on the counterculture movement in the Haight-Ashbury. Now, the patients of the clinic became subjects to their research, including apparently Charles Manson and his expanding group of mostly female followers who came to see Roger Smith regularly.
That makes sense.
It does, right? It really does, especially when you know about the things that I know about Charles Manson and his drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Manson would receive permission from Roger Smith to move from Berkeley to the Haight-Ashbury district in San Francisco, and he first took LSD and would begin to use it frequently during his time there. David Smith, who had studied the effects of LSD and amphetamines in rodents, wrote that the change in Manson's personality during this time was the most abrupt Roger Smith had observed as in his entire professional career. Now, I know that this sounds like a conspiracy theory. I am aware. But this shit is shit that actually happened.
Right.
Which, again, I know is what people say about conspiracy theories. So I don't know what to tell you at this point. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like it just happened to involve a iconic figure. So
Las
it's like...
drogas. Well, I mean, if you think about it, what's his name? Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was also a part of the CIA testing on LSD at Harvard.
Interesting.
The CIA was very publicly now, but at the time was funding a lot of research on LSD in this time period. And so they used a lot of it. So there's a really great piece. So it's called the MK Ultra program. I've talked about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Bye. Oh, yeah. I actually told her about the MK Ultra program because we were playing Dead by Daylight and looking at the lore, and they bring up the MK Ultra podcast and the Doctor's lore.
Mm-hmm.
So I was literally just saying that Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was part of the MK Ultra project. He was used as a test subject. And I will tell you more about this sometime when you are not on your way to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you can listen to my 6-part series on oh god, who is Lee Harvey Oswald, because we get into MK Ultra in one of those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Available on Spotify. But yeah, anyways, MK Ultra, it's a whole thing. Anyways, so Manson also had read the book Manson had also read the book Stranger in a Strange Land, a sci-fi novel by Robert A. Heinlein, and it was inspired by the free love philosophy in the Haight-Ashbury during the Summer of Love.
The Summer of Love.
1967, if you are not familiar with the Summer of Love.
Ah, Summer of Love.
Well, you know that
I'm
Charles
also thinking of, like, that was also when the psychedelic art movement. Like, a lot of people try to give the 70s credit for the psychedelic art movement, but it was actually the 60s.
Oh, it was 100%
during the Summer of Love. So
it was 100% during the Summer of Love. But
right.
I mean, Charles Manson is the man who was credited with killing the 60s.
Of course, because, you know,
August 1969, which we're going to get into in the next episode. But anyways, yeah. So, anyways, Charles Manson began to preach his own philosophy based on a mixture of Stranger in a Strange Land, the Bible, Scientology, Dale Carnegie, and the Beatles, which earned him quite the following. He had gained his first follower at the UC Berkeley campus, a librarian named Mary Brunner. He had talked her into letting him sleep at her house for a few nights, an arrangement that quickly became permanent. And he then met Lynette Squeaky Fromm, a teenage runaway, and convinced her to live with him and Mary, and soon began to attract a large crowd of listeners and some extremely dedicated followers.
That is an understatement.
You want to go with this part? Because
yes,
it's all you, boo.
He targeted individuals with manipulation who were emotionally insecure and social outcasts, because, you know, during this time,
it's so easy.
It's very easy, you know, especially since they're just advertising with the Summer of Love, you know, free love, free do whatever the fuck you want, you know. So it's very easy to get caught up in that. So in his book, Love Needs Care, about his time at the HAFMC,
the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic.
Yes, that place.
Yeah.
I could just say HAFMIC, but I'm not going to. Oh, I already did. But David Smith claims HAFMIC.
That sounds so true. The HAFMIC.
The HAFMIC. You know what? I am going to call it that. That sounds hilarious.
Do it.
David Smith claims that Manson attempted to reprogram their minds to submit totally to his will through the use of LSD in unconventional sexual practices. Because you got to remember,
we'll get into more in the next episode.
Yes, a lot of fun stuff's going to happen in the next episode.
Oh yeah,
that would turn his followers into empty vessels that would accept anything he poured. Manson family member Paul Watkins, I do remember this bitch. Yeah, stupid bald head and shit, but. That's for later. Testified that Manson would encourage group LSD trips and take lower dosages himself to keep his wits about him, because, you know, that's just what they always do. And Watkins said that Charles' trip was to program us all to submit. By the end of his stay at the hut in April, I hope I said that right.
Wait, where is it? I missed it. The Haight.
Yeah, the Haight. Okay. In April of 1968, Manson had attracted 20 or so followers, all under the supervision of his parole officer, Roger Smith, and many of the staff at the HAFMIC.
The HAFMIC.
The HAFMIC.
So, the core members of Manson's followers eventually would include Charles Tex Watson, a musician and former actor, Bobby Burisolet, a former musician and porn actor, Susan Atkins, Linda Casabe. God, I always do this. Linda Casaban, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten. Yeah.
Yes. Whew. Jeez. Yep, so now he's got himself a nice, lovely LSD-infused orgy group.
And that's where we're going to leave it for tonight's episode. Next episode, we're going to talk about family life, and we're going to talk about the lives of Roman Polanski, Sharon Tate, and we are going to talk about the events of that night in August of 1969 and what happened at 10500 Cielo Drive.
I'm both excited and horrified.
Aren't we all? And also you talked about how much you do not like Paul Watkins. You remembered Paul Watkins and everything. So I thought it would be fitting to end the episode by sharing this god-awful picture of him since you don't like him.
Why? Why? What is wrong with you?
It's so bad, right?
What is wrong with you? Oh my god.
It was the worst picture I could find of him, and I was like, you know what? CM deserves this.
Yes. Like, oh my god. Like,
oh god, I found another really bad picture of him. You ready for this?
I guess I'm gonna be as ready as I can be.
Okay, all right. Hang on one sec. Oh god, it's terrible. Ugh, his fucking face. Ugh. Fucking guy. Look at that face.
What are you smiling for? What is there to smile for?
But like the worst part for me is just the fucking mustache.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the shirt only because I like that type of fabric, but that's it.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to wear that shirt.
Yeah.
I would say take it off, but then I'd probably be horrified by what I see. So keep it on.
Don't take it off. Don't take it off.
Keep it on.
Don't do that.
I am specifically asking to keep it on.
Please. For the record, he died in 1990. So
good.
There you go. He also wrote a book called My Life with Charles Manson. I wonder if I can get that on paperback.
I'm glad to know that he died before I was.
Nope. Fucking $250 for a goddamn paperback of that bullshit. Fuck you.
I could just go to the library and read it for free if I could.
Holy shit. I didn't even think about that. I wonder if there's a library close to me. That's how I read Helter Skelter the first time.
I actually own Helter Set. I think, one of the ex-roommates who lived here, they actually had a copy and left it here, so.
Hey! I don't own Helter Skelter, but I own this book that was, oh fuck. I own this book that was given to me by my friend in Canada. My friend Dan, who is amazing. And he works at Prehistoria, aka the Skull Store in Canada, which is one of my favorite places in Toronto.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is actually a really good book. I'll have to let you borrow it sometime. Yeah, he had a couple of copies of this and he gave it to me along with some more true crime stuff. It's got a lot of art of Charles Manson's. It's got the pictures of his girlfriend, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
That girl Star that he was supposedly dating until he found out that she really only wanted to date him to get access to his body when he died.
Wow.
Did you not hear about that?
No, but that's hilarious.
Oh my god, it was hilarious and low key. I'm like, you know what? Like, kind of same though.
Plus, to me, I'm like, are you really in a position to be picky right now? You know,
she was hella young too. She's like my age.
Jeez.
Yeah, and as we discovered last week, I'm younger than you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I am your elder.
Damn you.
Go brush your teeth.
No. Okay. No, but all right. What are your thoughts on Charles Manson so far? That's what I want to know. What are your thoughts so far?
So far, it just sounds to me like everything's just been trouble from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know it's just going to get worse from here. You know, I feel like because he lived in such a crazy environment since day one.
Yeah.
That once he started up this family, I feel like that's when he realized, family, how much control he could have over people. It's like he finally had that power and dominion over others that he probably always wanted.
I mean, definitely he probably always wanted, because I mean, you know, you look at how he acted after the fact, and it's just sort of like, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, because it's like after just being constantly flung around everywhere, probably running away because he couldn't, like, I don't know,
Hack
like,
it.
yeah, do that and, like, dominate himself, I guess I should say. Because you gotta remember, this was like a different time where, like, people truly believed in that whole, like, male entitlement, alpha male bullshit. So it's like,
I honestly feel like the late 60s, like from 1964 beyond, it was a different time.
right.
And it was a time where things were changing. You know,
Yes.
men were becoming okay with being more effeminate. And here's the thing, from like the 1960s to the 1980s, being gay was totally okay at that point. And it wasn't until AIDS hit that like being gay was suddenly a bad thing again.
Right.
And we'll get into that in another. We'll get into that in another episode. But
so it's like that was during the time where things started like broadening out more. People were actually starting to question like roles and expectations.
Everything in the 60s.
Right.
Look, I went through a total 60s phase when I was a teenager. It's embarrassing to talk about. It really is. I went through a total 60s phase when I was a teenager. I was super obsessed with the Beatles, the Monkees, Janis Joplin, etc. But more so, I was obsessed with the idea of the Cultural Revolution. And I still love the idea that the 60s held, it was a time for women's lib. It was a time for gay rights. It was a time for men to break free of the stereotypes that they were held under. It was a time for everyone to sort of come forward and be like, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And Charles Manson perverted that in a dark way that is so incredibly horrific that he is now known as the killer of the 60s. Literally, if you type in August 1969,
typing in right now.
Yeah. So
historical events in August 1969.
Yep.
Pulling
I
it
think
up
it
right
was now. August 19th, 18th, something like that.
18th. Okay, let me. Oh my gosh, wait. 19th.
Seriously, the man killed the fucking 60s, okay?
Yeah.
So it was August, hang on one second. It was August 8th and 9th, 1969. So August 8th, 1969.
Yep, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. And you can see on it, it says the day the 60s died.
Yep.
Yeah. Jeez. So that has literally been described as the day that the 60s died. And that is like one of the most heartbreaking things to me is Charles Manson killed hope.
He killed a good thing. He killed progress.
He killed so much.
It's like sometimes that's just all it takes is just one bad fucking apple to ruin the whole barrel. And it's like that's just what sucks. It's like I hate that that's the case.
When it comes to apples and barrels, it's every time there is a bad apple, it kills the entire barrel.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just hate that that's what it
farming point of view. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This guy is the fucking worst. Mm-hmm. You know, for a minute there, you kind of feel a little sympathy for him because you're like, God, this guy's like an ultimate victim. But then he turns everyone else into the victim.
Right.
Fuck you, Manson. Fucking
okay, now that I can finally bring this up. When Manson died,
yes,
like before we went live, I actually said the day that Manson died.
Yeah.
I actually all I posted was this clip from the show called The Critic, which I don't remember the actual episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was from the episode.
Spoiler alert, in case you've been living under a rock, Charles Manson is dead.
Yes. Yeah. And the day he died, all I posted was this clip from The Critic.
Yeah.
Where the main character is like, you know, just holding his son, watching this fire and stuff, and then just looks over at him and goes, and nothing of value is lost. And that is all I posted. I said, that's my reaction to his death. That is all I'm going to say.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much.
Good times.
Great times.
Very great times.
All right. So before we wrap up, I would like to take a moment and bring it back to a little bit of local true crime news and more relevant true crime news.
Yes.
There's been a lot of stuff going on the past week or so with Billy Jensen. A lot of people have been coming out and talking about things that he has done to victimize women from the point of view of a man in the true crime community. He is the writer of, you know, he's written some true crime books. He's involved in some podcasts. Right. It's unfortunate. It sucks. But as a fellow podcaster, I would like to, and someone who knows him personally, not well, but I know him. I just want to say, I totally stand with the victims of anyone who has been victimized by this fucking guy. I am so sorry to anyone who has been made to feel uncomfortable, has been abused by this person, has felt like they are just... I stand with the women who have had to deal with this guy. And you know, as someone who, you know, like I said, I knew this guy and, you know, not well, but I knew him well enough that, you know, we would talk occasionally. Just, this is horrific. And I'm so sorry to everyone that has had to deal with this. Right. And I'm so sorry that you didn't feel like you were able to come out and talk about it before. And I support anyone who is coming out and talking about it now. And I'm fucking sorry, man. I'm fucking sorry. And needless to say, I'm not supporting that fucking guy anymore. So that's just something from me personally. You know, it sucks that he did this, you know, and it sucks that the women who have been involved didn't feel like they had a safe space in the true crime community to come forward and talk about what had happened. And that's fucking shitty. And we as a true crime community need to do better. Mm-hmm. And we need to believe women, especially since women, historically speaking, are the victims of all of this shit that we talk about, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And
That's
that
actually yeah, that's actually something I was gonna bring up is like the whole point of us talking about true crime
yeah.
is to bring awareness to these types of people that there are evil, manipulative, and disgusting people out there. Like, we don't talk about this for edgy reasons. We don't talk
No.
about this because it's like, oh, look, dark and gritty and evil. It's like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say cautionary tales because that sounds stupid. More
No.
like it's a warning, you know, like this is reality. This is real. This is what happens in our world. And we need to look out for the signs, for the patterns and things like that. Because in order to even hope for a better life, for a better future, we need to acknowledge that these things happen.
Yeah, and there's unfortunately a lot of fucking bullshit in his response to what happens.
Yeah, I was actually going on his Twitter right now just to see it, and I'm like,
oh yeah, go ahead. It's fucking bullshit.
And it's like the fact that you had to turn off the comments tells me enough. It's like, how are you going to be a part of this community and then be the reason why we tell these stories?
I'm sorry, but there's this little bit I want to read right here about it's from what is it? My statement on recent events.
Right.
Billy. Bruh. All right. So here we go. Last October, I attended an Exactly Right Halloween event with my wife and others at a brewery. Already, I'm annoyed. It was the first event since the pandemic started, and I was excited to see people I hadn't seen offline in 2 years. Admittedly, I was being very social and hugging my colleagues and friends. All of these hugs were out in the open in front of everyone at the event. 2 months later, I was told that someone had made a complaint that my interaction with them at the event was inappropriate. I was surprised and horrified. That is not what is coming out, okay? What is coming out is that he has been going on dates with women. He will start making out with them while he's fucking wasted or no, not even while he's wasted, while they are wasted. They're not even wasted. They're just tipsy. And like whilst making out with people, he will slap them across the face without consent. Yeah.
Dude, just buy a punching bag. Just slap the punching bag.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been coming out, and I've been keeping a very close eye on this just because, I know this guy socially. You know, I've known him. I've gone out to fucking dinner with friends with this guy. And it's uncomfy that this is happening to a person that I have had some interactions with. And I've honestly taken a lot of inspiration from him, doing true crime and everything. And yeah, our podcast may not be anywhere near as close as his is as far as numbers and everything goes. But at least I can say this. I've never fucking sexually abused anybody.
Right.
Much
less slapped somebody without consent, like in that way.
I will say in junior high, my friends and I used to play a game where we would see who could leave a darker handprint on each other when we slapped each other at school. So I have slapped people in the past.
But that was kind of like consensual, like it was
an agreed game.
Yeah, it was a game. It's like it's already like consensual and shit.
Yeah, but we'd try to like scare each other. We'd like do it when nobody was expecting it. So we would just slap as hard as we could, but like on each other's stomachs. So it would like leave a big handprint, Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So I've been seeing this stuff happening and coming out recently, and people that I know that are mutual friends with this guy are like talking about this. And it's shocking to me. But I want to say first and foremost that I absolutely stand with the victims.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely stand with the people who have been affected by this. And I am so sorry that this has been happening to you and that you didn't feel that the true crime community was a safe enough space that you were able to openly talk about a fucking person like this in our midst. And I am happy that it is coming out now.
Right, because it needs to, because it's like
It
that's
does.
literally the whole point of true crime is talking
It
about
is.
these things and saying it for what it
100%.
is.
100%. So I feel like this is a good place to leave the episode for tonight.
I mean, I hate that it has to end on a grim note, but all of them end on grim notes pretty much. So
that's kind of the line of business that we're in at this point.
yeah.
You know, and yeah, maybe it's a weird line of business for some people, but at the same time, it's the line of business that we've chosen. And unfortunately, there are people in this line of business who, unfortunately, apparently are going to identify closer with the perpetrators rather than the victims.
Right.
And
I've noticed that with
unfortunately, these people, their fucking attitudes are going to be closer to the perpetrators than the victims.
right.
And that is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but it's real.
It is real.
It's just
100%.
reality for what it is. So all we can really tell the true crime
Mhm.
community is just, I understand that we all have morbid curiosities and we love like reading into these things, but also be critical of who these sources come from, because
And be critical of the people around you.
Right.
Especially the people in the true crime community.
Right. Because it's like, yes, we're all bonding over these horrific events, but people are into it for different reasons. And you have to be careful with who you're associating with, because some people might have good intentions behind it. And there are others who are blending in just like these killers who are not there for good intentions.
I will say, like, you know, some people come into this with good intentions, you know, but at the same time, there are those people who come into this community and they think, oh, I'm so smart, I can get away with this shit too because I follow the true crime cases. I mean, look at fucking goddamn Richard Ramirez. He was a huge fan of true crime.
Yep.
And he's one of the most prolific serial killers that we still talk about to this day.
Yep.
Yeah. So just be aware of the people around you.
Yeah.
You know, and just be careful out there.
Be careful.
And if you feel uncomfortable, fucking talk about it.
Right. Talk about it. Like, I'd
Fucking,
rather
say
hear
something
your
out
story. I would
Yeah.
rather hear about how uncomfortable you are and take precautions than you stay silent and then that happened to other people.
Exactly. That feels a little. I'd rather hear about you talking about this person making you feel uncomfortable than hear about you dying.
Yeah, that too.
Because this person was allowed to make you to keep going.
They were allowed to cross that boundary.
Exactly. So we'll be back next week with part 2, where we talk about the Manson family. We will talk about the events of August 8th, 1969, and the death of the 60s. So until next week, stay aware and just be safe, guys.
Please be safe.
Seriously. Have a great night, everyone.